Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're digging into HOKEN Tech's 2025 Sustainability Report, and it's a fascinating look at what happens when a company decides to be, well, radically transparent about its impact on the world. So let's just kick things off with a pretty big question, right? We live in a world that's kind of wary of greenwashing. So how can we really tell if a company is genuinely committed to sustainability or if it's just, saying all the right things? Well, the answer, as this report shows us, really begins with being willing to measure everything. I mean everything, not just the numbers that look great, but the full picture, the good, the bad, and yeah, even the stuff that needs some serious work. Okay, let's dive right in and look at the hard data for 2025. This is where the story really gets started. So what you're looking at here is the company's own dashboard. It gives us our first solid number. Total energy consumption for the year was just under 970 kilowatt hours. It's a super clear, very specific starting point. Now, what's really interesting is what that energy use actually translates to. The resulting carbon footprint for 2025 ended up being 376 kilograms of CO2. But what does a number like that even mean in the real world? It feels a little abstract, right? To make it relatable, the report gives us these fantastic comparisons. It's pretty much the same as leaving a light bulb on for over 5.5 years straight. Or, get this, driving a car all the way from Rome to Paris and back again. But here's where it gets really interesting. And honestly, this is why this honest report approach is so important. Their emissions didn't go down. They actually shot up, and by a lot, from 121 kilograms in 2024. Now, that could be from business growth or even just better measurement, who knows? But either way, it's a number a lot of companies would probably bury. HOKEN Tech, they put it right out there for everyone to see. So let's move on and see how all this builds into the bigger picture of their performance. We're talking about the deep dive into their strengths and their struggles. And this just illustrates the whole story perfectly. On one hand, they are absolutely crushing it in areas like sustainable mobility, scoring a perfect 100%. But on the other hand, they're openly pointing out that circularity, things like reusing assets and sustainable purchasing, is a major area for improvement with a score of just 50%. That's what honesty in action really looks like. Now let's take a look at their big ESG scores. That's environmental, social, and governance. And these were all figured out by a third party. So first up, for environmental practices, covering everything from energy to waste, they earned a really strong 80%. Next up, their social score. This one's all about people, how they treat employees, relationships with customers, their community impact. And here they landed at a very solid 78%. And finally, we have governance. This is all about the internal nuts and bolts. We're talking ethics, transparency, corporate strategy, and they match their social score here with another 78%, which shows some real consistency across these two areas. So here's the crucial point, right? What do you do with all this data? How do you turn these scores, both the great ones and the not so great ones, into a real plan for the future? Well, based on those results, HOKEN Tech has publicly committed to focusing on these 4 key areas for 2026. They're going right after their weaker spots like circularity and also planning to beef up training for their people and use better digital tools to measure their impact. And they don't just state these goals and hope for the best. They've got a clear process. They follow this classic plan, do, check cycle. It ensures all these insights actually lead to real-world action. And most importantly, accountability. You plan the work, you do the work, and then you check to see if it actually worked. Simple as that. And, beyond all the corporate metrics and high-level strategy, they also made a point to take local, tangible action. In 2025, they planted 4 ficus trees. It's a great reminder that progress is also about making a contribution to your immediate environment for the long haul. And all of this brings us to the main takeaway from this whole report, really the core idea behind this entire exercise in being transparent. At the absolute heart of this report is this simple but really powerful belief. You just cannot improve what you do not measure. By putting the numbers out there, even when they aren't perfect, they create a baseline, a starting line for genuine, meaningful improvement. Ultimately, when you see them lining up with big global frameworks like the UN Sustainable Development Goals, it really shows that real progress isn't some destination you arrive at. It's not about hitting a perfect score and then you're done. It's a continuous, honest cycle of measuring, taking action, and then measuring all over again.
So it really leaves us with a final thought to chew on. This report shows one company's very transparent journey with all its setbacks and successes. It makes you ask yourself, what level of transparency, what kind of commitment to actually improving do you expect from the businesses you support every single day?